As the world is captivated by the electrifying moments of the Olympic Games in Paris, there's a buzz in the air that NHL fans can't ignore. Imagine this. After years of anticipation and uncertainty, NHL players are finally returning to the Olympic stage. Yes, you heard that right. Hockey's biggest stars are set to light up the world's grandest sporting event for the first time since 2014. After intense negotiations between the NHL, NHLPA, IIHF, and the IOC, this dream is now a reality, and we set to see the world's top hockey talent reignite a rivalry that has been simmering for a decade. The absence of NHL players in recent Olympics. The absence of NHL players in the 2018 and 2022 Winter Olympics was a significant blow to hockey fans and players alike. The decision to skip the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics stemmed from disagreements between the NHL, NHLPA, IIHF, and the IOC regarding insurance, travel costs, and the league's inability to market the event due to Olympic sponsorship rules. The 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics saw a similar outcome, with the NHL reversing its decision to allow players to participate just 6 weeks before the opening ceremony. The reversal was largely due to the need to recoup the time lost from 50 regular season games canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And if you're wondering why ice hockey isn't featured in the 2024 Olympics, well, that's because the 2024 Olympics are actually the Summer Games, not the Winter Olympics, which are held every 4 years on an alternating schedule with the Summer Games. Ice hockey is a winter sport, so it's only included in the Winter Olympics. The Olympic Games operate on a 4-year cycle, with the Summer and Winter Games occurring 2 years apart from each other. This means that every 2 years, there's either a Summer or a Winter Olympics. The 2024 Olympics are the Summer Games, ongoing in Paris, France. As a result, winter sports, including ice hockey, are not part of the competition. The most recent Winter Olympics were held in 2022 in Beijing, China, and the next Winter Olympics are scheduled for 2026 in Milano Cortina, Italy. So, fans of ice hockey will need to wait until 2026 to see the sport on the Olympic stage again. Negotiations and challenges. The path to the recent agreement was not straightforward. The NHL has long held concerns over Olympic participation, primarily due to the risk of player injuries, the disruption of the NHL season, and the financial implications of covering travel and insurance costs. Despite these challenges, the players' desire to represent their countries on the Olympic stage remains strong, pushing the NHL and its partners to find a solution. In 2020, the NHL and NHLPA included a provision in their new collective bargaining agreement that allowed for Olympic participation in 2022 and 2026. However, this provision required additional agreements between the NHL, IIHF, and the IOC, which were only finalized in 2024. The result is a commitment to Olympic participation in 2026 and 2030, with details to be ironed out over the coming months. NHL players in the 2026 and 2030 Olympics. The 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Games will be the first Olympic opportunity for a new generation of NHL stars who have never had the chance to represent their countries in such a prestigious event. Players like Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Nathan McKinnon, and Cale Makar are eager to showcase their talents on the world stage, fulfilling a dream they have had since childhood. McDavid, widely regarded as the best hockey player in the world, has been vocal about his desire to play in the Olympics. "I extremely badly want to play in the Olympics," McDavid said. "I think everybody knows where I stand. All these guys that haven't had a chance to represent their country at a best on best, I think it's something that we're all hungry to do." His sentiments are shared by many of his peers who have long awaited the opportunity to compete in a best-on-best international tournament. The legacy of veterans. While the 2026 Games will introduce a new generation of stars to the Olympic stage, it will also serve as a potential swan song for some of the sport's most legendary players. Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin, two of the greatest players of their generation, could make their final Olympic appearances in 2026. Crosby, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, expressed his enthusiasm about the possibility of competing in his 3rd Olympics. To see the best players go head-to-head representing their country, from my experience, I don't know if you get better hockey than that, Crosby said. At 38 years old in 2026, Crosby could become the third oldest Canadian man to play Olympic hockey in the NHL participation era, following Martin St. Louis and Al MacInnis. Ovechkin, who will be 40 years old in 2026, could become the second oldest Russian to play Olympic hockey, following Igor Larionov. Despite his team's less than stellar Olympic performances in the past, Ovechkin remains one of the sport's most dominant players and will undoubtedly relish the chance to compete for Olympic gold one last time. The impact of NHL players' return. The return of NHL players to the Olympics is a significant step toward growing the sport of hockey globally. As McDavid noted, talking about growing the game, doing all these things well, you've got to have the best on best, play on the biggest stage in the sport, and that's the Olympics. The presence of NHL stars in the Olympics will not only elevate the level of competition, but also attract new fans to the sport, especially in countries where hockey is not as prominent. The inclusion of NHL players also ensures that the Olympics will feature the highest level of hockey talent available, providing fans with the opportunity to witness the best players in the world compete for their countries. This will likely lead to an increase in viewership and interest in the sport, both during the Olympics and beyond. The NHL's international strategy. The NHL's decision to return to the Olympics is part of a broader strategy to increase international competition among its players. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman announced that the league plans to rotate between the Olympics and the World Cup of Hockey every 2 years, ensuring a consistent schedule of high-level international tournaments. To kickstart this initiative, the NHL will host the NHL Four Nations Face-Off in February 2025, featuring teams from the United States, Canada, Sweden, and Finland. This tournament will serve as a precursor to the Olympics and a preview of the best-on-best competition that fans can expect in 2026. By prioritizing international competition, the NHL aims to maintain its status as the premier hockey league in the world and to continue expanding its global footprint. Challenges and considerations. One of the lingering questions surrounding the 2026 Olympics is whether Russia will be allowed to participate. Following the invasion of Ukraine, Russia and Belarus were banned from the IIHF competitions, including the World Championships. As of late October, the IIHF had kept Russia's men's hockey team eligible for the 2026 Olympics, pending a potential lifting of the ban. The IOC has allowed individual Russian athletes to compete under a neutral flag in some events, but has banned Russian teams from participating in the 2024 Paris Games. Whether the same approach will be applied in the 2026 Winter Olympics remains to be seen. If Russia is allowed to compete, it will add another layer of intrigue to the tournament, as the nation remains one of the top-ranked hockey teams in the world. The risk of injury. Despite the excitement surrounding NHL players' return to the Olympics, concerns about the risk of injury remain. The NHL has historically been cautious about sending its players to the Olympics due to the potential for injuries that could impact their NHL team's performance. This concern is particularly relevant given the physical nature of Olympic hockey, where players are representing their countries and competing with a high level of intensity. However, the desire of players to compete on the Olympic stage has outweighed these concerns, leading to the recent agreement. NHL teams will need to manage the risks associated with Olympic participation, ensuring that their players are prepared for the physical demands of the tournament and can return to their NHL teams healthy and ready to compete. The return of NHL players to the Olympics marks a new and exciting chapter in the history of international hockey. After a decade-long absence, the world's top hockey talent will once again have the opportunity to compete for Olympic gold, bringing a new level of excitement to the sport. The 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Games and the 2030 Winter Games will feature a mix of rising stars and legendary veterans, showcasing the best hockey players in the world on the grandest stage. As the NHL continues to prioritize international competition, fans could look forward to more best-on-best tournaments in the coming years, including the NHL Four Nations Face-Off in 2025. 2025. It promises to elevate the sport of hockey to new heights, attracting new fans and solidifying the NHL's position as the premier hockey league in the world. Who will you be supporting in the coming Winter Olympics? Let us know in the comments below. That's all for this video. Stay in touch for more exciting news about the sport, and goodbye.